Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama, and I thank you for joining me for another episode of the podcast. This week, my guest is Leigh, and she runs two Etsy shops, Leigh Berry Irish and Leigh Berry Watercolor. Leigh, thank you so much for being my guest, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to talk with you too because, first of all, let's go to the beginning. How did you discover Etsy, and what specifically do you sell in both your Etsy shops?
Okay, I discovered it from my neighbor in 2015. She told me that I should put my artwork on Etsy. And I'd never heard of it, didn't know anything about it, but I Googled it and I put some artwork on Etsy. So now I sell my watercolors. I sell fine art prints of each of those originals in various sizes. I print them out myself per order. And I frame, I mat, and all different sizes again. And then I just got into sublimating my own mugs, ornaments, and tea towels. And I do that myself too. And then I also sell note cards and bookmarks.
So for anyone who doesn't know, what is the process of sublimating?
Sublimating is where you have to use a specific item to sublimate on. So there's special mugs for sublimation, and you put a special kind of ink and a special kind of paper around the mug and then bake it. And the image actually bakes into the molecules of the item. So it's dishwasher, microwave safe, never going to come off. Very shiny and beautiful. And the colors just turn out amazingly gorgeous. I had no idea that they could be really, really vibrant colors.
Now, is sublimating similar to how a ceramicist might put a mug or something into a kiln and bake it?
I assume so, yeah, because it's got to be baked in. The heat actually opens up the molecules, and then the ink goes into the molecule. And then when it cools off, that molecule has it baked in there, and it's still a shiny, gorgeous surface.
Wow.
So it's kind of a neat chemistry experiment.
Really? And you do all this yourself?
I do. I bought all the equipment. I learned how to do it. And that was just after Christmas that I learned that. So I just started this in January.
After Christmas 2019?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And how are sales on your sublimated products?
Great. I started with POD, with print on demand, in October. And I got a lot of orders through that, which is, where somebody else actually does the printing and sends it out for you.
Yes.
And they ended up, and I love them. I mean, they were a very helpful company. But at Christmas time, I had so many orders for mugs and ornaments, and they started making mistakes. And I was spending a lot of time dealing with customers who got the wrong ornament, and it kind of got to be ridiculous. So I posted on an Etsy Facebook group, and I said, these guys are making so many mistakes. And a lot of people answered, yeah, that's why I started doing it myself. So I didn't have a clue that was anything that I could do myself. And then I joined other Facebook groups for sublimation, and they were all wonderful, and that's how I learned to do it.
Wow. So essentially what the production partners were doing was the sublimation process, and you just brought that in-house.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh, wow.
But let me tell you, the colors on my mugs and ornaments are like 10 times more vibrant and beautiful.
Why do you
when
think
I do
that
it
is?
myself. I don't have any idea. I think they could learn from me, let me tell you, because mine are a lot prettier. So I don't know why.
Wow.
But
I wonder if it's because you're doing it in smaller batches, and so your process is a bit more intensive, as opposed to maybe a production house where they might be doing larger batches using commercial equipment that might be more designed to for volume as opposed to quality.
could be. Yeah, I don't know. But it was a happy find, I'll tell you, that they turned out so beautifully.
Now, sorry, go on.
I just got an order last week. A realtor ordered 52 blue crab mugs to give as Father's Day gifts to her clients.
Love that.
And I found out how fast I could do. She needed them in 2 days, and I didn't even know if I could do it. But of course I said yes, because I was going to do it no matter what. And lo and behold, it was a great learning experience, because I found out, wow, I can do these things really fast.
Yes. Now, would you say that the investment you put into acquiring your own equipment to handle the sublimating yourself has paid off and was worth it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. So that's my new adventure. Yeah. But I'm still painting. I'm still, coming up with new scenes and new,
Okay. Now, how did you get into art? Is it something that you just naturally started doing? Are you self-taught, or what's your art story? The journey.
My art story. Yeah. Okay. Well, my father was a professional artist. He became one at 42 with 4 kids. He quit his job and started.
Wow.
He did pen and ink drawings and then prints. Because an artist friend of his told him the only way to support a family is by prints. You can't do it just from originals alone. So he would sell his prints black and white, pen and ink, or hand watercolored. And as the years went by, and he sold a lot of art all over the East Coast. He had scenes of the whole East Coast, and he was very well known here in Maryland. Everybody's heard of him here in Maryland. But he eventually asked me if I would start watercoloring the black and white prints for him, because he couldn't keep up. So he taught me how to do that. And they were detailed. It wasn't like a quick little wash. It was detailed stuff. And that's how I became so familiar with watercolor. And watercolor just really became my true love. I love watercolor. So he always, even before that, he always tried to get me to draw and paint, and I never would. I always said, I can't. And he always said, he'd look at someone's artwork and he'd say, you could do that. And of course I always said, no, I couldn't. Well, finally I tried, and lo and behold, I could.
Wow.
So that's how I got into watercolor, and I just love the medium of watercolor.
Yeah. So then what inspired you to start making your own artwork?
I remember, I think the first thing I did actually was copying a Christmas card. I got a Christmas card that was a very simple, pretty, snowy watercolor. And I just decided to see if I could copy it, if I could do it. And I did. And I hung it up in my house, just a little, but it surprised me that, wow, I can actually do this. So then I just dabbled here and there, like his birthday presents or, different gifts for people. I dabbled. And then I always did art shows for my dad, where I would take all his stuff and sell them at art shows. And I'd always hang some of my own stuff at the same time. And people were buying them. So I always very much just did what I enjoyed, and I didn't stress over it. And I always felt like if somebody likes it, fine, and if they don't, that's fine too. Whatever. I'm gonna do what I like, and if it sells, it sells. So it started selling more and more. And then back when I was newly married, couple of little kids, I started printing out some flowers and doing gift shows and selling wholesale to retailers. And then my third baby was born, and I realized I don't have time for this anymore. So I put it all aside to just focus on the kids. And then years later, up until really probably 2 years ago, I got to the point where I could not look at other people's watercolors because it made me so sad that I wasn't painting. And it hit me, well, this is stupid. Well, then I should start painting. Oh. So that's when I got back into it. I thought, this is ridiculous that I don't even want to look at art because it depresses me too much. Yes. So that's when I started painting again. And then it just took off. Yeah. And it's still taking off. And I'm very, very excited. It's very energizing. I love, love, love what I do. Yes. And I am so grateful that I can do this for my living. It's really, really wonderful.
So now you do it for a living, but when you first opened up your Etsy shop, what was your goal with it?
Just as a little part-time side thing. I didn't really have any goal. Okay. Just as a part-time thing while I was nursing. Yes.
And one of the impressive things that you've been able to do is actually transition out of your nursing job and focus on art full-time. At what point did you realize you could make the transition and that it was going to be a viable venture?
Okay, well, I opened my shop in 2015, but I didn't know the first thing about tags and titles, and I didn't, I got maybe one sale every 2 months. And I was so busy, I didn't care at all. I didn't really want any sales at that point because I was too busy to fill them. Yeah. So it wasn't until September of 2018 when we were at the beach and my husband and I don't even remember how we started thinking about the shop, but we started learning about it and we found out that titles actually matter. I would entitle, a painting Sailing By. Well, I didn't know nobody was going to Google Sailing By. Right. So we started adding tags and titles, and then things really started picking up. And then in the spring of last year, they steadily just went up month after month. And I remember saying to a nurse friend at work, in like April or May, that I was hoping to be able to do it full time by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So, and then in July, I got mono from trying to do both jobs. Mm-hmm. And it was a blessing because I quit the nursing then. And it's just gone up and up steadily since I quit.
Yeah. And congratulations on that. I know sometimes there's a lot of trepidation that comes with leaving a secure job and leaving a secure source of income for something that might not be perceived as secure as what you already had. So in this case, healthcare, and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording. Healthcare is looked at as a very stable industry to be in. People will always be sick. Unfortunately, people will always need medical help and medical attention. So there won't be a shortage of a need for nurses. But then with art, it's an elective of life. People don't necessarily always need art. And so to think that you would give up something steady in healthcare for art, which which traditionally is looked at as not as stable as, say, healthcare. I can't imagine that there wasn't some trepidation, but it seems like you had a plan and you reached your goal before you made that transition.
Yes, I did. Yeah. And I'm very, very goal oriented. I write down all of my goals and I post them. I have them posted next to my bed. I have them posted down at my workspace. And when I don't feel terribly motivated, all I have to do is look at those goals and realize, okay, I got to get cracking here.
Yeah. Yes.
So, and my goal, I mean, I'm really, really looking to increase, like I said, I have 7 kids, and that's a lot of college loans. And so I really, really, really want to help the kids pay for college. So that's a huge goal right there.
Yep. That's a motivation right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does a typical day look like for you now? Running your business. You're a one-woman shop.
I am.
It's all you.
Yeah. Now I have started delegating though. Okay. I will say I have a friend now, just as of last week, who I'm paying to work from home and tweak my new Shopify website. So I realize I can't do all this by myself. So I have started to pay other people a little bit to help me to get it started. I work a lot. From the minute I wake up, I start answering emails or messages. And then my next thing is print out all my orders, print out the prints for the orders, and then go down and package them and get them to the post office. So depending on how many orders, that might take up the entire day or it might take up half a day. And then I work on the shop on the computer, adding things. I'm always adding new products. Yeah. And then generally I've been painting at night. And I set up my studio in the living room. I know that sounds crazy, but I want to be with the family. Yeah. I didn't want to be off in a separate room while I painted at this point because I only have 3 kids left at home and they're not going to be here. It goes fast and I don't want to miss it. Yeah. So I work right in the living room. When I paint, my painting is in the living room.
Yes. And everyone understands that this is your business and this is generating a serious income and everyone respects that.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. And my son is my Photoshop guy. He's the one that sizes things for the mugs and the ornaments. Because I don't really know how to do that. So without him, I don't know how I would have done this. But he sizes them to fit, each of the mugs. Yeah. And then my daughter packages all the note cards, helps me with the bookmarks, tying little every mug gets a little Leigh Watercolors tag tied on it. Nice. So she helps me with that. And my husband is very supportive and he helps, where he can.
Yeah. Well, I picked up on that when you said you guys were at the beach and he was investigating SEO and then you guys figured out that was the missing ingredient.
Yeah, he's very helpful. And he gets up super duper early. So I literally will think of something at 11 o'clock and I'll send him an email to, something for him to look up or investigate. Yeah. And he'll do that at 4 a.m. when he wakes up and reads my email. So he's very helpful.
Nice. Yeah. Now, you said you have one person helping you with your Shopify website. And for anyone who wants to check out Leigh's website, it's at leighbarrywatercolors.com. That's LeighBarryWatercolors.com.
Right.
How much time did you invest in training your friend to help you do things on the website?
None at all. My son actually is my other son who lives in Maine. He's the one that opened the shop for me and downloaded everything from Etsy into the Shopify account. So he did all that on his end.
Okay.
But it needed a lot of tweaking. And when I sent out the link to some friends, one friend answered back saying, "Oh, Leigh, I found a couple of typos in there." And with that, I had actually been really praying for some kind of an assistant because I need help. I'm never going to get big if I'm trying to do everything myself.
Yes.
So I started thinking about her. It's not somebody that I talk to all that much, but I thought, you know what? She's got a real eye for detail. And that was really nice of her. So I just asked her if she would be, willing to do that. And she kind of figured it out on her own. She just kind of went in. I gave her my password and everything, and she just kind of felt around and figured it out on her own. It was a little bit of a learning curve for a few hours.
Yes.
But then she was up and running.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you also spend a good amount of time creating new artwork. So you're never not coming up with new pieces.
No. My list is a mile long of ideas to paint. Yeah. Which is, it's a blessing and a little bit of a curse because my little wheels are always spinning.
Yeah.
Always thinking of new things to do. And time is what's so hard to find.
Yes. And even with me, I've realized with all the things, probably like you as well, all the ideas and everything that occurs to me that I want to do, and I realize there isn't enough time. Like you said, that's the time to start delegating and bringing people in, because that's like buying additional time. At least that's the way I see it, is for each person that I can give something to, it buys me more time to think more and then do more. So yeah.
And create.
Create.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what strategy did you use to figure out the pricing for your products?
Well, let's see. Since I have a little bit of experience with retail in the past, from selling to stores, I've worked just a little bit with the owners and buyers for the store just to kind of get their input, and sometimes they'll say, well, let's try it a little bit lower than that. So, and I remember my dad, used to always say, you can always raise your prices, but it's hard to come down in your prices. So I start a little bit, on the lower end where I can. And then I've raised my prices several times over the past year. But basically, if I'm making a profit and, figuring out how much time it takes to do per piece, as long as I'm making a decent hourly wage, I'm happy.
Yes. Okay. And how do you calculate your hourly wage? Do you look at how many sales you get in a day and then the amount of time you spent working, and that's how you figure out what your hourly wage is?
Well, my hourly wage really, really varies depending on what it is I'm selling.
Okay.
So, like if I'm doing 5x7 framed prints, I just figure out how fast I can do them within an hour. Yeah. And then just multiply that. And then it's not that I'm trying to set an hourly wage. I just want to make sure that I'm happy with the rate that I'm going.
Right.
So, some things I'm making a great hourly wage, and some things it's like, okay. But it all evens out in the end.
Okay. And actually, that just brought a question to mind. So when you were working as a nurse, it was more straightforward. You put in the time, you got a paycheck, and you knew that paycheck was payment for the amount of hours that you had given to the job.
Right.
When you were making the transition and you set your goal, was it a direct one-to-one, like this is the dollar figure that needs to be coming in from my Etsy, endeavors, minus the costs of, cost of goods and raw materials and all whatnot, minus all that, this is the number, and it needed to match what you were making as a nurse.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Because as I said, I became a nurse later in life too, because we needed the money. I loved nursing. That was a bonus. I did love nursing, and I loved my patients. But in the end, I only did all of that because we needed the money.
Yeah.
So once I started making the same amount of money with the artwork, then I was kind of doubling up there and making. It just. Well, like I said, it made me sick. I literally got sick, and I realized, I'm making the money doing art. I don't need to be doing the nursing in addition to it. Yeah.
Okay, good. And I wanted to make that distinction because for someone who's listening, who's also on the fence, not on the fence, but who's also planning to make a transition, I just wanted to make sure that person takes a note that there's more to take into consideration when you talk about earning the same thing than just that straight number. Because when you're running your own business, you're investing, so you have to deduct what you invest in it, and then make sure that everything above that is then what matches your actual income from where you're employed. Does that sentence make sense? I hope it made sense.
Yes. And I have spent a lot of money on ways not to do things. So I kind of look at that as tuition, sort of like, you pay tuition to learn how to do something. Yes. Well, I paid a lot of tuition to learn. And I tell you, I really kind of connect with Thomas Edison a lot throughout my day. I always think of him learning 10,000 ways not to do a light bulb, not to make a light bulb. And I always think of him when I think, okay, well, I just learned another way, not to do that.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
But I'm very determined. I'm a very determined person. Yes. And like I said, I'm very goal oriented. Yes. And I'm a positive person too. I listen to a lot of motivational books while I work. Yeah. And that helps keep me going too. Okay. Yeah. And on one quick note, I was just going to say, I don't know that it ever would have popped into my mind to quit nursing, other than my coworkers would say to me, Leigh, if I could do this, I wouldn't be here. And that kind of started sinking in because I don't know that I ever would have thought of it otherwise. Yeah. So that eventually sunk in, thinking, yeah, okay,
Yes. And sometimes it does take an outside voice to tell you what you're overlooking, something that's in your hands that you might not realize you're holding. And in that case, it was your coworkers who were telling you basically predicting that, look, what you're able to do could possibly get you out of here. I mean, even though you enjoyed it, I know sometimes people want to leave for other reasons, but you had to go. Now, let's talk about how you promote your Etsy shop. What do you do? So you mentioned that once you figured out SEO was a big driver of traffic, you started tweaking your titles and using your tags. Do you do anything else to help generate traffic to your shop or your listings?
I do the Google ads through Etsy.
Oh, and how have you found those to be?
They're great. I mean, in fact, for this year, I've gotten $460 in sales from them, and I paid $38. So
really,
that was a nice, I mean, that was just, I'll take the $460 in sales for $38. Wow.
Now, why? And I don't know if anyone else is under the same impression, but I was under the impression that it was expensive to run Google ads.
Well, I don't know. You pay per click.
Okay.
So you're not paying unless they click on. So,
But if the click doesn't result in a sale, you're still paying for that click, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You are. But it's paid off for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I've gotten enough sales so that's fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I add things to Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
I have a long way to go in learning how to optimize Pinterest, but I do always, add a bunch of pins from a listing to a million different boards, and I get a lot of traffic from Pinterest.
Okay.
I have a Facebook, Leigh Watercolors Facebook group that I don't do as much with. I used to, what's it called? Promote a post and pay for that advertising. And then the last time I did it, they sent out this bizarre message to the people who hit like on that post. And they got this message from me that I didn't send. So I stopped doing that. And I messaged Facebook. They never answered me. So I'd like to start that up again, but not if they're going to be getting a message from me that I didn't send.
What was the message? Do you know? Was it like a sales message?
It was a sales message. Yeah. And it was kind of obnoxious. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I didn't like it. And so I apologized to the people that it went out to. And then I never did the ads again because I don't know how to stop that from happening. Because I don't know why that happened in the first place.
And, I'll tell you, I also had had an odd experience with Facebook ads because I used to use them. And now I think about it, I think there must be something that we sign off on when we agree to do Facebook ads in. Because I'm the first to admit, I don't read all the fine print. It's so long and unwieldy. But yes, I used to run Facebook ads, and then something changed in their system where it would automatically just reignite ads for you. And I wouldn't know when it would do it. I would just get a statement because you link it to PayPal now they have their own payment system within their ecosystem, but then you had to link it to your PayPal account, and then it would just bill your PayPal or take the money from your PayPal account. And I would get these invoices from Facebook for ads that I wasn't running, ads that I didn't initiate. And it was very frustrating because I could never tell when they would start them and when they would stop them. So eventually I had to go in and just disconnect Facebook from my PayPal because that was the only way to stop them, because I knew if they weren't going to get money, they would stop running the ads.
Right.
So that was kind of odd.
That is odd. And you're right. Who has time to read all that fine print?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't think you're signing off on something ridiculous, but apparently you are.
Apparently you are, yes.
Yeah.
And now I'm gun shy because now that their payment system is in their own ecosystem, I feel like I'll have less control over like when, the money and when they'll charge me and all whatnot. So there's a lot of education that has to happen on my end with regard to Facebook ads, but it's not on my plate right now. Yeah,
me too. I also do Instagram too. I have an Instagram account and I always post things on there too.
Yes. So now with the different social media platforms, each one has different specifications. So do you take the time to adjust your posts for not Facebook, but Instagram, because in the feed they want it square, in stories it needs to be vertical, and then in Pinterest they have dimension requirements as well. So are you taking the time to optimize your posts for each of those platforms?
No, I am not. When I'm posting a picture in Instagram, you can tweak the size just with your fingers on the screen. You can kind of shrink it to fit.
Yeah, that's true.
That's all I do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I do. And then I do all the hashtags.
Okay. Are you able to trace back sales that come from Instagram? Is there any way to are you ever able to connect a sale to a post that you made on Instagram?
No, I can't say that I've spent a lot of time looking at that.
Okay.
Pinterest. I can see which platforms sent customers, or not customers, but visits from people.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't. I don't know how to see whether those people actually purchased or not.
Yeah. Okay. Now, do you use the Etsy updates feature much in your shops, in either of your shops?
Etsy updates feature? You mean the new things that they come up with?
No. So there's a feature, and I think it's easiest if you use it from the phone, where you can send an update about maybe a new listing that you've posted, or a sale that you have going on, and then link it to a particular listing in your shop.
I don't know about that.
Okay. We'll talk about that offline. But for anyone who doesn't know, so Etsy has this tool, and it's called Updates. And basically that's what it's for. Actually, there's not much to it. That's really what it's for. So let's say you've just listed something new, or you have a new product line and you want to announce it. So you can use the updates feature, and it allows you to link to a product, or I don't know if it allows you to link to a section in your shop, but definitely it allows you to link to a specific listing. And you can post that to social media, and it's just an additional way to drive traffic to a particular listing. Now,
I will definitely check that out. Yeah.
Yes, do. Here's the thing that I don't know if many sellers know this about posting your listings on social media, but when Etsy, when a visitor comes to your listing from something you've posted on social media, the Etsy algorithm is set up such that they not only will see the listing that you've directed them to, but Etsy will serve up related listings or similar listings from other shops, specifically for traffic coming from social media. It's kind of a quirky thing that they do. But yeah, and the whole goal is, you're helping to bring traffic to Etsy, so they want to make a sale. And the best way to do that is to give that person multiple opportunities to buy. So they'll have them look at yours, but then they'll have them look at other people's products who are selling similar things to yours, so that that person, for the buyer, it's supposed to be a good user experience, so that in case your product wasn't exactly what they wanted, maybe the other person's own is. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
So not so great for the seller, but it could be great for you if you happen to be the other seller that somebody finds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love Etsy. I'm not one of those people that, bashes them because they come up with something that I don't love. Yeah. I kind of trust them to try to, they want everybody to be successful.
Yeah.
I assume. So
yes.
That's fine.
And that's what I keep going back to, is a lot of the changes that happen, painful as some of them might be, the end goal is to make money somehow. If it doesn't work, they'll scrap it. Etsy Studio didn't work. They scrapped that. I don't know if you're familiar with that either. So that was a platform that they developed specifically for people who sell supplies, so that they would have more exposure on their own platform, because historically, supply sellers have felt a bit drowned by handmade, because they felt the platform was more geared towards handmade sellers, which originally that's what it was. And so they came up with this other platform called Etsy Studio, where it was only supplies and sellers of supplies. So people who sold supplies were on Etsy and Etsy Studio as well, and they did it all in, behind the scenes. But it just didn't. I mean, it didn't really take off. It wasn't as successful as they thought it would be, so they scrapped it. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember I sell supplies, and I think in the entire time Studio was in effect, I think I got a total of 4 sales through Studio. So it wasn't nothing, but it wasn't like being on Etsy either. Right. And I think they saw that, so experiment over.
Okay.
So let's talk about what the process is for you when you get a new idea for a product, from inception to creating it to getting it up and on sale in your shop. What does that process look for you? Sorry.
Okay. Well, right now, my new thing I'm doing right now is the Nantucket skyline. Nice. From the boat, from a photo of mine. And so I paint it, and then I scan it. I have an Epson scanner. I scan it, and then I print it on my Epson printer and photograph it. I have a light box that I got from Amazon. So I will take it, pop it into a mat, and each of my different kinds of frames, I offer a bunch of different kinds of frames, and then list it. And then I'll send it to my son and have him size it to be a mug and the ornaments. And then I'll print them out and print out the tea towels, and then photograph all of those and add those listings. So that's pretty much from inception to, getting them up there. And it's so fun because literally, I'll get a sale on that within a week.
Wow.
On a new thing. So that makes me so happy. It's just so fun to see these ideas turn into creations, and then, things that people actually, they love. Yes. I mean, I get the nicest messages from the nicest people about my artwork. They'll tell me stories about when they went to Dingle in Ireland and who they went with. And, I love that. It like really resonates with them and takes them back to this place that they had such a wonderful time in.
Yeah. I know that has to be so rewarding too.
It is, because I'll tell you, I realized a long time ago with these messages from people that were so personal, and I realized, gosh, this isn't just about me painting something that I like. I'm actually bringing joy to people.
Yes.
And that really was a revelation to me. I think that's a pretty cool thing to be able to do.
Absolutely. It makes you feel good to make other people feel good.
Yeah. It's a real treat. It's really cool. Yeah.
Now, so that's one of the benefits of running a retail business, is you're up close and personal with your customers. You get to build these personal relationships. Have you considered expanding into wholesale, and what does that look like for you right now?
Yes, I've always sold to a few stores wholesale. I have local stores that have contacted me about selling my stuff in them. And I have a place at the beach in Delaware too. So I've always done that, and I am looking, that's why I opened the Shopify website, the LeighBerryWatercolors.com. Specifically, I wanted it to be easy for wholesalers to place orders. And I'm really looking to expand nationally, actually. Especially with the when I added the mugs and the ornaments and tea towels, it just opened up a whole new world. Yeah. I'm not just selling framed prints. I'm selling things that everybody needs, mugs and tea towels, you know? So it's a whole nother aspect that's really, really increased sales.
Yeah. have you done wholesale before? Because wholesale is a whole different animal, because you need to have like a line sheet, and the pricing is different. Have you educated yourself about getting into wholesale, so you know what you need to do to prep for when you do start to get wholesale orders?
Right. I'm working on the line sheet.
Okay.
I know there's an app that you can add to Shopify for the line sheet.
Okay.
I'm still trying to tweak what I'm going to do about shipping costs. That's what's really slowing me down, because, shipping 20 mugs is a whole lot more than shipping 20 matted prints. So it's very difficult to figure out how I'm going to handle. And I have so many different kinds of things and sizes and weights. So I think I'm just going to simplify it and just make a flat rate like I do in my shop.
Okay.
And then hope that it all evens out in the end.
Yeah.
Some places I'm going to pay more in shipping. Other places won't be so bad. Hopefully it'll all even out in the end.
All just balance out.
Yeah.
Etsy used to have this, and sometimes I like to mention these things because I like to imagine that somebody there might be listening. They used to have what was called Etsy Wholesale, which sounds like if you had been around at the time, this would have been like the perfect tool for you, for sellers who did want to expand into wholesale, where they could actually offer their products for wholesale, and shoppers, or what they call the people who buy for retail outlets, were able to come directly to Etsy and do business with artists like yourself to get your work into their stores. And again, I think that was one of the things where at some point they just decided it wasn't, I don't know why, but they decided it wasn't worth carrying on with. But I do know some sellers who did find success through Etsy Wholesale. And I thought it was a good program. I myself didn't use it, but I knew others who did. So hopefully maybe one day that will come back and then make things easier for sellers like you who do want to expand in that direction.
Right. The downside to having it on Etsy, though, is that they're going to take a cut. I couldn't afford to have them take a 5% cut off of my wholesale price.
That's true.
I kind of need to, I need that to come from me without anybody else taking any more. Because wholesale, it's such a huge discount.
Yeah.
So the profit is already so low. I don't want Etsy taking 5%.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
So with wholesale, you sell at a lower rate than you do retail. Is the benefit of getting into wholesale the exposure?
Exposure and volume.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's worth it, if they're I just got into a little grocery store here in Maryland.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, just with the mugs and the tea towels and note cards. Note cards is the big one with them. So, I don't make that much, especially like note cards, but volume is what I'm going for. And exposure, yes, because with every note card that somebody writes, I've got my name on the back of that and the title of that picture. So that tells them, oh, she's an artist and she has more than just this one note card,
Yes.
So, yes, I'm counting on it as being exposure. And my mugs, I hand sign and title every mug on the bottom.
Wow.
So, and boy, is that time consuming. Then I tie a little tag on. So, that again. And for local people, I put Moncton, Maryland, so that they know I'm a local artist.
Yeah.
My big thing is I really want people knowing that this was not a mug manufactured in a great big warehouse somewhere. This is a little artist that they want to support.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yes. And I think what came to mind when you were saying that was you're trademarking your artwork, and when you were saying that, I thought, yes, I can recognize a Mary Engelbright piece anywhere because, I've seen her name enough and I know what her work looks like. And so one of the things of hers I like to buy are note cards because just the style that she has. And so hopefully that's what you're generating as well too, as you expand and people begin to recognize your art style and your artwork is that kind of exposure where one day people will say, oh, I want to buy a pack of Lee Berry note cards.
Yes. I hope they do.
What are some things that you would say you did to either set yourself up for success or things that you've now realized can help another seller who is just starting out be more successful on the Etsy platform?
Well, first of all, again, I think determination is huge. You have to be determined.
Yeah.
I have artists say to me who I've tried to help, they'll say, oh, Etsy doesn't work. It doesn't, and, I can just hear, okay, I can't convince them because you have to have that determination. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes to make it work. Because clearly it does work. A lot of people are making a lot of money on Etsy.
Yeah.
So my job is to figure out, well, how and why and how can I do that too, rather than, I think comparison sometimes is a kind of a beast.
Yes.
So, and again, to get back to the motivation, I listen to a lot of motivational books and I try to keep motivated, Like I gotta say, the past week and a half, sales have really dropped for some reason. And I don't know why, but I know they're going to go back up because they do. So I don't know what people are doing this week that's more important than buying my pictures. But apparently they're doing something.
Those people.
I know. Yeah. Get back to what's important, will you?
Get back online.
Right. So, and also adding, of course, the tags and learning more about the tags and trying to get that. I used to subscribe to Marmalade. I used to use that to
Was that helpful for you?
It was helpful, and then I found that I just really wasn't using it, and I was still paying the monthly fee, so I kind of canceled that for a while.
Okay.
So, not doing that. But I watch YouTube videos to try to learn as much as I can. I try to read the handbook to learn as much as I can from them.
Yes.
And again, I'm always coming up with new products too. So that I figure the more paintings I have, the more people will find something that appeals to them.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's kind of my goal. That's why I want to delegate to other people jobs that they can do so that I can focus on painting and creating more and more. And it's fun. I mean, it's a blast. I love doing it.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that because the more I do this, the more I realize it's best to focus on the things, one, that are your strengths, and two, that you do enjoy doing the most. Otherwise it does become a drudgery very quickly. And there are other people who probably have, find more joy in doing the things that drain you. And it's just a matter of finding the right people, like who those people are, and then giving them the joy of doing what's a drudgery for you. Right.
Yeah. And I gotta say though, even like framing and packaging, it really is, I love doing that because it's a real charge for me to think that, oh my gosh, my artwork is hanging in people's houses all over the world.
Yeah.
And I just can't even believe that, to tell you the truth. So even packaging something and sending it to Australia, it's like, wow, this is so fun,
Yes. It's like a little bit of you all over the world.
Yeah. 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 It's cool.
Now, you mentioned some tools that you use. You have your Epson scanner and you use a light box to take your pictures. Are there any other tools or resources that you find particularly helpful that other sellers too might benefit from?
Besides my printers, no, just my little heat press for my ornaments and my towels. I mean, of course, that sublimation is a whole nother ball game that I don't know that a lot of people really want to deal with.
Yeah.
I like doing it. It's fun, but I can tell you my workroom gets pretty darn hot when that oven is on. So, no, but I tell you, I thank God every day for my printer because it's the best printer in the world, and it just keeps printing out my beautiful prints. And I really am grateful to Epson for coming up with a great printer.
Have you had the same one since the beginning?
No, I had a different one. I had a Artisan 4550 or something, which was the first version. And then I realized, it hit me one day that if something ever went wrong with this thing, I would be out of business. So I ordered an updated version as a backup, to tell you the truth. And I've done the same thing with my sublimation printer. I just got a backup because when I was doing that order for 52 mugs for the realtor last week, I thought if this thing, and she needed them in 2 days, I thought if this thing broke down in the middle of this job, I would not be able to fill this order.
Yeah.
So I ordered another sublimation printer so that I would always have a backup.
Yeah.
For that reason.
It's funny that you mentioned that because, and I don't think I've ever said this before, but I felt the same way about just my regular document printer because I had a nightmare, not an actual nightmare, but the thought hit me one day that if I'm in the middle of, doing my daily everything and the printer dies, I would be stuck. Like, let's say it was, late at night and I was working and the printer died and I would be stuck. So I actually, that night, ordered another printer and just kept it in the box. I never unboxed it because I just knew one day that my print, something would happen with the printer I was actively using and I would need to be able to immediately just move over to the new one. And eventually it did. It took a while, but it did.
Yeah, mine's still in the box. And I'm going to do the same thing with the heat press because Christmas is coming. Yes. And when I'm doing Christmas ornaments, boy, I can't have that thing break down.
Yeah.
So I'll have a backup for that too.
Yeah. And the last thing you want to do is go to the mall or wherever during Christmas time to buy a printer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Leigh, I didn't ask you this beforehand, but do you have any Etsy shop shout out? This would be like another seller who maybe has helped you along the way or just someone you want to recognize or another store.
Well, I'd have to shout out to my brother and my sister. Both are selling my dad's work in an Etsy shop now.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's Martin Barry Art, I think it is. I think is what their shop is, Martin Barry Art. Oh, nice. And then you had a seller on that I listened to last week, and oh my gosh, now I'm not going to remember. They did like door hangings, flowers and things for doors. Oh my goodness.
That was Cian and Colette of Ever Blooming Originals. Yes.
Yes, and Ever Blooming Originals. Yes. And I messaged Colette, and she was kind enough to give me feedback on my shop and tell me some suggestions. And I really appreciated her taking the time to do that. And she lives here in Maryland, too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're practically neighbors. So I really appreciate that. So I'll give her a shout out, too.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they are really sweet. And I enjoyed talking with them as well. I'm so glad that you enjoyed that and that you were able to connect with them.
Yeah, I have started to reach out more to people. And I find that people are really willing to help, you know?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, so I appreciate that. I appreciate, people being helpful.
Yes, I do too. And I found that as well with the Etsy community too is most people I don't think I've reached well no, there was one person who wasn't nice to me. But everybody else was.
That's terrible.
I know. I was actually surprised because I'm so used to people in the Etsy community being nice and friendly and helpful. And yeah, that wasn't. But for the most part, yes, everybody, I mean, the community is so helpful and giving and generous. And so, yeah. What's the best way if anyone wants to connect with you, for them to get in touch with you?
They could send me an email or just message me through the shop. My email is Nodar. My married name is Nodar. N is in Nancy, O, D is in David, AR, at Comcast.net.
Okay.
And then, of course, through the shop, too.
Okay. And is either shop better? Again, for everyone listening, Leigh has two shops, Leigh Berry Watercolor and Leigh Berry Irish. Is either one okay?
Yep. Both are fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Irish shop is new. I just opened that in October.
Okay. Well, congratulations. You're almost at 300 sales. And I know it's your goal to hit 1,000 in the watercolor shop.
It is.
And you're almost there. As of this recording, I think you have about 30 left.
I do. Yeah. Yes. So I need people to get back to shopping for the month of June. Because my goal is July 1st, hitting 1,000.
Stop enjoying the summer weather. Go back indoors.
Right. The good, I will say though, the good part about having things slow down a little bit is that gives me more time to paint and work on other things that I never have time to work on. So it always works out in the end. Yeah.
And there was one thing I sorry, I know I was about to round up and let you go, but just one more thing. Running two Etsy shops, how difficult has that been? Because I know Etsy, you have to have two separate email accounts, you have to have separate logins, and running two shops is really like running two separate businesses. For you, how have you been able to just manage the two? And what's your, how do you divvy up your time?
It's fine. It's not bad at all. Okay. It's not bad. I have the same password for both, so that's easy. It's not. I have to log out of one to get into the other. That's the only pain in the neck. I can't have two windows open with both shops open. Yeah. So that's the only little annoyance. But that's okay. I'm thrilled that people like my Irish pictures, and it's just a whole different venue because people love Ireland and I love Ireland. And my name is Barry, so that works a whole lot better than if it were like Zerlinski or something. That might not sound too Irish. I don't know. But I am Irish, and so it works. I actually have a third shop too, but it's very neglected, and it's where I put like inspirational quotes on my artwork. But I haven't had a chance to really do. I get a sale in that, like maybe once or twice a week. But it's a very neglected shop.
Yeah. So. One day you'll get to that one too, I'm sure.
Yeah. I got lots and lots of ideas. It's just the time.
Yes.
Time is. So right now I just want to paint summary things, paint more Irish pictures, and focus on increasing that. Yeah. So I am thinking of doing a gift show, possibly, for wholesale. So I had done that years ago in the past, and it's expensive and it's a lot of work, but it's fun. I mean, I love chatting with people. So I may do that, but then again, I may wait till the pandemic thing is over. I don't know that I'll do it in the fall.
So when you say a gift show, I'm thinking of two different things, and let me know which one it is. So not like a craft fair, but like in San Francisco, there's like the San Francisco Gift Expo.
Yes,
where
that's what I mean.
That's what
Yeah.
you mean. Oh, wow. Yeah. That would be huge.
There's one in Philadelphia, so I would probably do that. I had done like New York. I did New York a couple times with my dad's artwork years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm used to doing those. You know, I know my way around doing a gift show.
Yeah.
But again, I got to get my shipping things figured out before I want to ship mugs, you know, across the country.
And again, with the gift shows, it's more to get wholesale accounts, not for the retail sales. Okay.
Exactly. Oh yeah. There's stores that shop at the gift shows to fill their stores.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's like a whole different ball game right there.
It is, and I was about to do an Irish gift show, and then the pandemic hit, and that got canceled. So,
you know, a part of me thinks 2020 is kind of going to be a wash with a lot of in-person events.
Yeah, right.
You know, even though, you know, as of the time we're recording this, it's June 2020, and, you know, some states have relaxed their restrictions. But I kind of feel like we might go through another round before we're really out of the woods. So,
me too.
Yeah.
And I know I don't want to be part of the experiment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm being cautious.
Yes.
You know, I'm going to let everybody open up and see how they do before I start going at it, you know, full force out there like normal.
Yes, I'm with you on that too. I feel like I'll just watch from the sidelines.
Right. I'm the same way with a vaccine. I'm never first in line for any new drug. I got to see how everybody else does before I get it.
I have to be like the world's worst pharmacist because I do not do immunizations, and I probably shouldn't be saying this publicly. I don't take the flu shot. I don't do any of that.
Right.
Just because I'm like, no. Well, again, that's a whole different discussion, but yes.
Right. So yeah, it's been an interesting year. It's been crazy. In fact, I was just opening new shops with, you know, wholesalers right when this all happened, you know, and they all closed their stores. So, you know, it's just, nobody saw this coming, but next year is going to be better.
Yes. 2021, we are waiting already.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think Christmas will be great in Etsy. I think there'll be lots of Etsy sales. I
think so too. I really do, because I think by the time people start shopping for Christmas, shopping online will be even more of an everyday thing than it is now and than it has become because of this whole COVID, you know, stay at home orders. I really think it's going to be, I think online is going to be pandemonium like the malls usually are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which will be fun. And I've got Christmas ornaments too, so I can't wait to, you know, see how that goes.
Yeah, I've talked to a number of other sellers on the podcast who start preparing for Christmas in July. They start their Christmas product line in July in anticipation. Mm-hmm. So, you know, this is going live sometime in August. So if you're listening to this live and you haven't started yet working on your Christmas line, you might be late. I'm just kidding.
Right. Huh.
Yeah. But Leigh, thank you so much for spending this time with me and just sharing about what you're doing on Etsy and how you're growing. It really is encouraging to hear how Etsy has been working for you and has helped you transition. And I know it will be encouraging for somebody else who's listening who has dreams of making a living with their art or their craft to see that it is doable, and you can, flail around in the beginning and then learn as you go and get better with each iteration and expand. So thank you so much for sharing your story with me and with others listening.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on your show. I love listening to your podcasts.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. And I thank you for listening to the podcast. If you would like to connect with me, you can. Instagram is where I am most actively social right now. You can connect with me there at Convo Me Podcast, and also visit the website convome.com. Show notes and links to everything we talked about in this episode will be there. And you can also check out my upcoming workshops and training sessions for the rest of the year. And I will be back next week.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.